Been learning of the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, who's referred to as the Rebbe Rashab. This is a foundational discourse of his. It was written in 1903. This is like a book. It's a discourse that's a book, meaning many, many, many sub-discourses within one long exposition. And the book is looking really deeply into age-old challenges of overcoming our natural impulses and how to attain spiritual growth. So the Rebbe begins, this is chapter 4 of the first discourse within the many discourses that together create the entirety of this work. It's a series of discourses, and this was something unique to the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he would give a discourse, and then he'd give another one, and then he'd give another one, and this could extend over a year or more. And all of these discourses are forming one total thought. So this is chapter 4 of the first of many discourses. The Rebbe here is talking about the significance of learning the inner dimension of Torah, what we refer to as Hasidus. And the Rebbe explains that as we learn the inner dimension of Torah, as we learn Hasidus, of course, I bring in Hasidus a lot to this class. Some of you also attend my Tuesday night class, which is pure Hasidus, Tanya. And Hasidus should bring you to loving and fearing God. That is the most inner point Hasidus wants to achieve, is to help you feel your relationship with God, love him and love him more, have fear, have awe, have a sense of his presence, and even more strongly. Have you seen this happen as you learn? I mean, many of you have been learning with me for a long time. So you can have a little historical perspective on yourself. And have you seen this grow over your learning, that your relationship with God, your emotional relationship with God gets stronger, has gotten stronger over the years, and you more naturally truly have a love for God and truly feel a fear of God? Anyone has seen that change, that progression?
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely. You've absolutely seen this happen as you learn. That's so beautiful, Rachel.
Yeah.
And as you feel more, does this impact how you serve God more?
To some extent, of course, but probably not enough.
Not enough. We could all say not enough. We could all say not enough.
Yeah.
But the idea, of course, is the more we love and fear, the more this impacts our relationship, and the more, therefore, we do. In other words, what Hasidus is doing is talking to you about God, is making God more and more and more real. And the more real God is, the more our love and fear becomes stronger and stronger, because it's not a label, a term, something amorphous. It's very, very real in our understanding God, and therefore it's more and more natural to have this relationship. The more you understand, the more the relationship flows. So that was really beautiful, and for me, heartwarming that Rachel said that so emphatically. I definitely see this with myself. I definitely can mark when I started learning Hasidus. I was raised in a Chabad home, but I would say I started learning Hasidus for real when I was about 18.
Well,
and I definitely saw the change. Like, whoa. It was like very intense, very strong, very like a light bulb, like a fire igniting so strongly that from the learning of Hasidus became this enormous love and fear. The more you know God, the more it impacts your heart. What he's saying here is this should be what you strive for. You should strive to know God, and the more you know God, to love God and fear God and live for God. This should be what you strive for, because this is as per your stature as a human, as a Jew. And when this is your striving, when your focus is on this, is on God, is on your relationship to him, is on learning Torah, the inner dimension of Torah, to feel God more and more strongly, the Rebbe says, the Rebbe here meaning the Rebbe Rashab says, this is fulfilling the reason for your creation. This is why you were created. You were created to have a relationship with your creator. You were created to serve your creator. And of course, you could do commandments and serve God without learning anything, but it's not going to have the same depth and the same power. The more you study, and specifically study the inner dimension, Hasidus, the more you have that feeling, and that feeling infuses your action with so much more godly energy. This is your reason for being. And the Rebbe says, and this is a point he's developing in what we're going to discuss tonight, this is why we're talking about it, this should be your source of pleasure. Your source of pleasure should be God, should be godliness, should be spirituality, should be Torah study, and not physicality. This should be your source of pleasure. And the Rebbe says, because you're not fulfilling the reason for your being by striving and getting pleasure from the physical. That's not getting you anywhere. That's getting to a lot of not good places. And it's not getting you anywhere in terms of why you were created, why you live, what you're supposed to accomplish in this world. So he is going to discuss at length why it's a problem really being into pleasure in the physical arena. The easiest thing we can think about is food, because that's just such a common pleasure. But of course, there are many, many, many physical pleasures. Before I explain to you his teachings on this, why do you think it's a problem? Why is it such a problem? Here, by the way, just to clarify, we're not talking about any transgression. We talk about transgressions later. But in the section we're reviewing tonight, the person's not sinning. If they're eating, all the food is kosher. If they're buying a lot of beautiful items, they're not stealing anything. They're buying it with money they earned. They're not grabbing it from anyone else. If they're into all these different scents and perfumes or scented candles or flowers, they're not harming anyone. They're not transgressing anything God said you're not allowed to do. But their focus is, for each person, of course, whatever is their point, pleasure from physical, permissible pleasure from physical. Why do you think that's such a problem? Any thoughts? What could be wrong? You're not doing anything God said don't do. You're not violating any of his will. What would be the problem?
Maybe because there's less room for spirituality.
There's less room for spirituality. Is that what you said, Ina?
Yeah, if you're overwhelmed with the physical
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so what Ina is saying, and that makes a lot of sense, is you got to make a choice. And if your pleasure faculties are all in the physical and this physical and this physical and this physical, I mean, let's be real. How much of your space is going to be there for spiritual when the physical is taking up all this space in your life? I think that's a very, very true answer. Definitely resonates with me. Makes a lot of sense. Anyone else? Any other thoughts on it?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Rachel.
The same goes for listening to classical music.
Yeah, exactly. That's a pleasure. 100%. Now, again, is listening to classical music higher on the scheme of things than indulging in chocolate? Yes, it is. It's a more refined pleasure because music is more refined than food. So but again, each has its own problems. It has different sets of problems. But yeah, listening to classical music, art, jewelry, anything that gives us pleasure, that we're talking about permissible. We could all understand, well, if it's forbidden, I mean, God said no. And obviously it's wrong to go against his will, and he made you, and every commandment, obviously he understands what's best for you. We don't always understand what's best for ourselves. And we want to bring down the blessings of serving him. And we understand if we don't serve him, it creates negative energy in our life. All that's true. He's going to discuss that more later. But in this section, he's literally talking about permissible, literally talking about perfectly, absolutely kosher, with as many kosher certifications as you want food, or kosher, you think classical music, art, beautiful textures, beautiful smells, anything that's a sensory physical pleasure. And again, as I said to Rachel, can we lump all pleasures together as the same issue? No. There's a hierarchy. very animalistic base pleasures. And then there's more refined pleasures, but they're all in the realm of the physical. Even the pleasures of the mind, even studying something not godly is a pleasure. It's a physical pleasure. Studying math, studying science, not doing anything wrong at all. Obviously, if you need it for your living, then that's permissible because you're living to serve God. And in this world, we need to earn money to serve God. So, but if you just happen to enjoy and you're studying math because you enjoy it, you're not transgressing God's will at all. Same if you're not transgressing God's will if you're enjoying different perfumes or enjoying. But he's saying there's a problem in this being your drive, in this taking up so much space. So Ina raised a very realistic problem. Like, we've only got so much space. And if we're really loving this and enjoying this and being into this, we're sort of suffocating the opportunity for spiritual pleasures, which are more refined and more subtle and more nuanced. And we've got to free ourselves up for that. But if we like I'm thinking of my son, Dove Beryl, who he is off from school for 3 weeks before he, God willing, goes to camp. And I was like, wow, that's 21 plus days, because really it's a little more than 3 weeks. And I'm really so working hard that he shouldn't spend the day on a device. Working really hard on that. Like, I figured out with him, I told him, okay, you pray word for word, get my computer for a certain amount of time, and that's it for the whole day. And you can get my phone for games, 2 discrete intervals, and that's it besides bedtime. And there's a lot of hours in the day, and it's so easy. It's such an easy babysitter. He'd be happy. I could work. I could do my stuff. And I thank God, until now, it's just been 4 days, but thank God I've been able to really be careful with it. And I think everyone here can understand why. He's not watching anything bad on my computer. I mean, I wouldn't let that. He's watching Jewish, or even better than that, religious Jewish or holy things. But even that is not good for him. It's not good for him. And we can all understand that. We don't have to, have a long expose on that. We understand just sitting in front of a device and as the video plays in front of you, it messes up your brain. I'm not talking about the content. I'm talking about things that have good content. It's still not good for you. So we understand that concept, that something could be permissible, but it just isn't good for us. It doesn't put us in the right space. It's very interesting because I noticed with Beryl, because on Shabbos, of course, there's no concept of a device. It doesn't exist, and he knows that. And his energy is so different on Shabbos. I see it every Shabbos. Just so much more calm and centered. And so it's not like he's watching all the time, but even when he's not watching, I think there's a certain pulse that doesn't exist on Shabbos. Maybe it's just Shabbos elevates us. That's more transparent with him. But it's different. So something could be permissible, but it's still not good for us. It still harms us, sometimes more subtly, sometimes more overtly. So any other thoughts besides what Ina said? You didn't give a great answer. I totally agree with her answer. There are many answers. Any other thoughts on what could be the problem with indulging in totally permissible physical?
Maybe it just takes away the focus of our purpose here, because like if we enjoy something, whatever, art, right? It just, we can really go in that direction and just be less focused on finding what is our purpose and focusing on that.
Totally. That makes perfect sense. So what Chava's saying is almost, it's like, almost, this is how I'm understanding what you're saying, that it's like we could be satisfied with that and not strive for what we're really here for. Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah. Satisfied, fulfilled. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
totally agree with that, because if this is giving me contentment or satisfaction, or I feel good, I'm good. And it's like, wait, no, I'm not good. This isn't what I'm here for. But I like pacified myself, right? Like a baby with a pacifier, right? What's a pacifier? A plug, you put in the baby's mouth and the baby's chewing and it's pacifying the baby. So whatever the baby really wanted, which actually could be a real need, like the baby really is hungry, but they're chewing this piece of rubber instead of getting sustenance in their body. And they're pacified because they have the chewing motion, which is very self-soothing for a baby. Which sort of goes back to what I was saying about Beryl and making sure he's not excessively watching things on devices, kosher things, only kosher. That's not the issue. But it's like, yeah, it's just like, okay, this is good. Oh. He's developed himself, run, jump, play, create, discover, drive your mother crazy, do things. That's how we grow. That's how we become who we're supposed to be. And if we're pacified, like, oh, this is good, I could spend many hours doing this mind-numbing activity, then what I'm supposed to be doing, what I'm here for, doesn't happen. So yeah, I totally agree with what Chava's saying also. Any other thoughts? Those were two great ones. Any other thoughts?
Does it also tie up with the fact that you were teaching us that when we're deriving pleasure, not from godly, it's empty calories, but it's starving our soul because we're not nurturing our soul.
Right. That's very true. I like the way you put it, empty calories. That's a very good term for it, empty calories. Because we do have a pleasure drive. It's not that pleasure is wrong. God gave us the faculty of pleasure. And if we don't, just like with food, I think that Rachel's saying about the empty calories is like a very, very wise analogy. Like you come home and you're starving because, of course, you didn't eat for hours. And you just, if you're meat, you just grab something completely unhealthy, completely not good for you, but it fills you up because you're hungry, but it doesn't really give you anything. So, but you pacified yourself. You have some food in your system, so you keep going without really getting the nourishment you needed. So if we have this drive and this need and this desire for pleasure, which God gave us and which is a good thing if it's utilized the right way, but we're distracting it, pacifying it with those empty calories, then we sort of numb it. And then what we're really supposed to use this pleasure for, Rachel, were you going to add something?
I try to digest that. It's hard because God gave us this beautiful music and beautiful pictures and beautiful nature. So we know how to enjoy it, and why is it not good?
That's such an excellent question.
That was my question also, because if it's balanced, if it's in moderation, and you're supposed to enjoy Shabbos food and Yom Tov's food, so what if it's very balanced?
So I think Menucha, your question, you're answering Rachel's question also. It's a wonderful question, Rachel. I'm glad you raised it because it's a very, very good question. It means you're really trying to understand the concept. And what Menucha is basically saying is, in essence, the answer. Again, everything we're talking about tonight is permissible. So being that it's permissible, the answer is not because God said no. And if God said no, obviously this is bad for you. This is evil. And if this is really enjoyable, we're just very short-sighted and don't understand how we're harming ourselves. Just like, God forbid, someone's really enjoying drugs. They're really enjoying it. They're really harming themselves. So the fact that we're enjoying it isn't a proof that we should be doing it. The fact that we're enjoying it and it's in God's world isn't a proof that we should be doing it, because there's many things in God's world that we're not supposed to do. So everything we know is in God's world. God created a world with a variety of options, some permissible, some godly, and some we would call evil. God forbade it, therefore, by definition, it's evil. But we're talking about permissible things. Because if it's not permissible, this is not part of the discussion tonight. If it's not permissible, the answer is God said no. God knows what's bad for us. And anything he said no to is tied to evil, which means it pulls us down to evil. So if there's like evil that, like, of course, we all understand, like an evil, horrible human being, what's evil about, I don't know, an innocuous, not kosher food item? What's evil there? Evil means it's tied to an energy which is blocking God. That's in essence what defines evil, something which blocks God. And anything God said don't, the energy, energetically, everything God said no, blocks God, which of course is a world God created. So we have the opportunity to freely choose to connect or disconnect. And if we're choosing to do the wrong, and we are connecting, by example, eating something not kosher, dressing not according to God's laws of modesty, speaking forbidden words like gossip or slander or not truths, we're connecting our energy to that which blocks God. And therefore, we're connecting to that blockage. And it harms us very much, which is not what we're talking about tonight, because we're talking about permissible. So Rachel's very good question. I'm really glad she raised it. It's an excellent question. It means she's really thinking. Is answered in essence by what Menucha said. Everything that's permissible, we are supposed to utilize in the service of God. That's why it's permissible. Meaning there are things that are forbidden. Why do they exist? So I should be challenged and say no. So I should lessen their evil by rejecting them. There are things that are innately godly, like a soul, like Torah, like the land of Israel. The majority of this world is not innately godly. For that matter, the majority of this world is not evil, evil meaning forbidden by God. The majority of this world is permissible. So what does all this permissible exist for? It exists for me to use it to serve God. And when I use it to serve God, I elevate it and I elevate me. So Menucha gave the example of food on Shabbos. She's right. When it's really within the paradigm of food for Shabbos. So if you, for example, maybe for health reasons, maybe for spiritual reasons, don't let yourself eat chocolate during the week. I'm just making up an example here. And then on Shabbos, you eat chocolate. You have chocolate for breakfast, you have chocolate for dessert, whenever you have chocolate, you have a snack. And you really are enjoying the chocolate and feeling the pleasure of Shabbos, because this is when you let yourself have chocolate to enjoy Shabbos in this physical way. That's beautiful. I'm talking here obviously about completely kosher chocolate, and you're really using it as part of your service of God. So you're using it, you're enjoying it, but it's part of God. Or maybe a more simple example, like a more realistic in our life example, you're making supper or breakfast or lunch. Sorry, I keep giving food examples, but they're just such easy examples of this concept. Though again, yes, it applies on every single level. But you're making supper. Should your supper taste good? I hope so. There's nothing wrong that your food tastes good. But the question is, when you're eating it, are you eating because it tastes good and then eating more because it tastes good and then eating more because it tastes good? Or are you eating what you need to eat in a healthy way? And God gave you a beautiful world and you're enjoying his beautiful world. Serving him, because this is how you fuel your body to continue serving him. If your mind loves math and you enjoy studying math and use it to help, I mean, it's many different levels of studying math. I'm going to be very simple here. Use it to help understand how to invest properly or how to budget properly. You help other people invest properly or budget properly. You understand how to do your taxes and help other people do their taxes. You're using it as a tool. You have a pleasure in it, but you're using it as a tool to help you serve God, to help you help someone else, which is always a service of God, and to help you function and serve God. Then all of these pleasures are within in God's reality. And my enjoyment of math, I'm utilizing for God. And my enjoyment of food, I'm utilizing for God. And if you have a sense of beauty and art, and you use it to make your home beautiful, and when someone walks into your house, they feel the beauty. And this is a home where God is served. You're using beauty for God. So you're taking that pleasure and that talent and that gift in a beautiful environment, and you're using it for God because your home is a vehicle for God. If your life is about God, your home is about God. People walk into your home and they feel the beauty, and here's someone who serves God. Here's someone who lives a godly life, and their home is so beautiful, and this uplifts the whole energy of the home. That's taking that physical beauty that God gave us and using it to serve him. You know, we say that women are gifted with a special talent, sensitivity to beauty. It's not a curse. It's a gift. Well, what we're saying here is we're not supposed to do any of that. You're not supposed to do it that's your thing, but you can utilize it as a tool in service of God. So when you're setting your Shabbos table and it's a beautiful tablecloth and it's polished candles and beautiful candles, that's enhancing the commandment the same way lighting those Shabbos candles early is enhancing the commandment. The same way giving charity before you light candles is enhancing the commandment. Having a beautifully set table is also enhancing the commandment. So it's utilizing the permissible of this world, utilizing all these things that give us a sense of beauty for God. But when, let's be real, it's not for him. It's just me and my indulgence and my indulgence. And my indulgence was, again, sometimes the easiest way for us to see that is in food, but it exists on all levels of the physical world. This is derailing me from God for all the reasons, what Chava said, what Rivka said, what Ina said, all of them. And they were each unique, but definitely overlapping themes because this is the theme. Does that answer your question, Rachel?
I just pick my hand. I did not notice it. In reference to Rachel, when she asked the question, I had something else in my mind. I don't know if she had the same thing, but for instance, I love to go to opera. I enjoy it. Or I like to listen to classic music in the symphony hall. Or I like to watch ballet. Is this permissible? How is this, if I watch opera, how do I serve God?
That's a great question. So for all of these things, the question would be, and it's an honest question, meaning you have to be honest with yourself. Like we say, there's no point in fooling a fool, like trying to fool yourself. If you're being honest with yourself, the question would be, what do I feel like after? If I went to an opera or to a ballet, or I'm listening to symphony music, is this something that I'm using as a break to recharge me and to help me connect more, and I see that happens, then for now, that's part of my service. Because I see that it actually works in my service. If I go to a concert and my walk away from the concert is a sense of like, oh, when's my next concert? Then it's not helping infuse vitality to my life. It's making me want to escape my life more. In other words, that was a great escape. And when's my next escape from life? So then that's not helping
very
you.
Expensive to think about when my next escape. Yeah, but it could happen only 2 times a year.
That's the concept. The concept is,
right.
Let's take something for free, okay? Let's take beautiful, innocuous, probably great thing to do, which is to take a walk, especially if you take a walk in nature. It's a beautiful thing to do. I don't do it, but like many things I don't do, I could tell you it's a great idea. Now, why do I think that's a great idea? Though at certain points, I really try to push myself to do it and whatever. It's been a while, but I think it's a great idea. Because you're breathing air, your phone is turned off. If you carry it for safety, it is off. It's not distracting you. You're alone with your thoughts. Your body is, your heart's beating in a faster pace. It's flowing the blood to your body. You're doing all these wonderful things. You're breathing, you're seeing green. And then you come back and are more centered and focused in living your good, godly life. That would be like the ideal vision, right? Not only because it's free, but because this is a pleasure. I don't need to take that walk. Well, you're just indulging in a pleasure. But if I take that walk, or if I exercise, or if I listen to music, and this centers me and gives me like the focus of like, just like deep breathing, I'm oxygenated, I'm joyful, I'm centered. And now I can have energy in leading my godly life. You're putting it in a paradigm of service of God. Now, of course, you can argue and say, everything I've taught you, you should have joy in your life from thinking of God's blessings and seeing God's presence. Yeah, you should. There are higher levels of how you're going to get joy in your life. But I'm just answering the question. If you can utilize something of this world that's permissible, and you see it's helping you serve God, you can do it. And like Menucha said, I think Menucha said a very important word. I think she said something like in moderation, meaning what's driving what? Like I said, if going to the opera is leading to going to the opera, is leading to going to the opera, it's leading me. If going to the opera is something I do rarely, expensive, takes time, but then it infuses me with a joy, which I translate into feeling better in my space and in my life and in my service. So it's helping you. Did that answer the question, Miriam?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, everything. Then, if we think about the way you just introduced, anything could be taken this way. Anything we do.
And as Menucha said, I think that was a key point, in moderation, because if it's not in moderation, we know it's not about serving God. But if it's in moderation, it's like a little chocolate. It's just a little something that helps your animal be in sync with your godly and enjoying your godly life, then it could be useful. But if I'm not being honest with myself, then what's the point? Who am I trying to fool? But if I am being honest and it really does help, then thank God it's part of your joyous, beautiful, God-centered life. Malki, your hand was raised for a long time.
Yes. And say like something I like that is, I guess you could say, one of those parv things, but it's not, it would be something I would maybe be like more, okay, maybe if it's for like emotional health reasons, but like a furry friend, cuddling with an animal, like just to help with your emotional health, then I know like too much of that also, if it's not used within moderation, could also become like not good. So,
but on the other hand, if you're saying this is a great, when I use it properly, calming down, relaxing me, centering me, and then I can go and serve God and live a life that's centered and joyous, then it's good.
Yeah.
And in moderation, knowing what's primary and what's secondary, what's supposed to take up more space in your life, what's supposed to take up less space in your life. And if a person was working on themselves, I'm going to go back to Miriam's example with the opera, which as she said, so expensive and something. And if you might see that as you grow more in your relationship to God, you need that less and less.
Correct.
You don't need that escape. You don't need that. It could exist in a small, rare situation, but that's not what's driving me. I don't need that to drive me because I have other higher connections to God that are really giving me a lot of pleasure in my daily life. So I don't need to like escape my life to feel good. Within my life, I really feel good. Anyone
I
else?
mean,
Any other thoughts or questions?
But it's not necessarily escape. It just, I know my husband, he's crazy about classical music. He's playing classical music and he is doing this every day. Was not because he's escaping, because uh, it's his desire, you know.
Right. So
And he has this mm, urges to play and listen to music. And actually, when I listen in classical music, it's calm me down and it's give me pleasure, much pleasure. It's a pleasure, you know. And God cannot. It's not substitutable. It's could coexist at the same time.
right. So what you're saying there is the music is giving pleasure, and the music is also centering. You said calming down.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is if a person would say, I have my time, I work hard, I have a stressful job, life pulls at you, and this is my time. Like someone else could smoke a cigarette, someone else is drinking coffee, someone else takes some alcohol, and you're saying, this is no vice free. I'm just centering myself. I'm listening. I'm feeling the pleasure, and it's centering me. And then I continue feeling more centered and like I decompress from the stresses of the day to continue my life. So
Yeah,
that
and it's also
why it has to be,
intellectual.
why it has to be distress you from life? It's a part of life, could be part of the life. If person even musician, if this is his trade, for instance, and he's doing it for living, and that it wasn't just, and it happened to be love and living and um, and financial support. Basically, we all have jobs. We like job, we may not. So somebody enjoys his job, and his job is musician, conductor, or playing some instrument, or in this case, which just somebody enjoying playing him. I don't see. I mean, I understand what you're saying. With the time, more we become connected to God. Those things like opera, maybe theater, maybe museum will be going on a secondary, like on a back burner, not as important to us. But then, isn't it like we're gonna kind of like steal something from us? Music was also created by God. God gave those talents to people to play. God gave this beautiful world for us to see and go on trips, because we want to see, for like you said, walking as nature. Nature was done by God, was created by God. So I come and I'm in awe of this. I'm in awe in front of the people who could sing, who could play. I think it's all godliness when they do it, because it's not like, not everyone has this talent. So I don't, I kind of like, I hear what you're saying, and I understand how you can walk out little by little, further and further away from those things. But on the other hand, why you have to, it's part of godliness as well. It's like going hand by hand, like, okay, that's my 2
I hear it.
cents.
Okay. So Leah spoke and then Miriam continued. So there was really one point Leah was saying, and then Miriam was saying 2 points. So I just want to, so I'm responding.
But also, the more you listen something or you introduce to yourself to some kind of music or instrument, you understand this world, and this world could not be unknown to you. And when you learn this, it's whole different world. And some people who don't know this, for some reason, they just don't know what they miss,
So what I'm saying to you, Leah, that I was like sort of responding, but then Miriam continued. So just what I was saying to you was, to me, the way you were describing your husband and music was the way I was describing taking that walk. which means it's a part of a healthy life that truly, when you continue your healthy life after the walk, you're more centered, it helped you, you're continuing. So I wouldn't view it as escapism. I would view it as something, the way you're describing your husband, something built in, a part of the healthy life. Now,
and it's knowledge, it's intellectual knowledge. And when you have this interest, you make your life richer.
I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is, like everything else, where is this taking me? This is sort of like the question I'm asking. Is this helping me more deeply fulfill the reason why I'm in this world or not? Now, if you're saying that, Russians are awfully far more culture than Americans. I'm an American, so I don't look at music that way, but I understand you're coming from Russian culture and
No, it's not Russian at all. It's actually more European.
Not Russian?
And Spanish and Latin.
Okay.
I'm talking about guitar and all this, but when when I was after COVID vaccine and I was not feeling well, I lay down on the floor and he put me Beethoven, and I was kind of surprised how deep it sound, and it's give me, I was like flying in the sky with this music. It's give me so much. I don't know. It's just putting me up. And I probably it's because my physical condition at the moment, but it was kind of discovery. And it just like, and more you listen to music, the more you open yourself to it. And it's about intellect, and about the same with the books, or with art, with pictures. So it just give you.
I hear what you're saying, and my response is, if it's a tool that brings you closer to God, it's a good tool. If it's a tool that maybe distracts you and fills you with all of its beauty, and therefore, like, I don't remember if this was Ina, Rivka, Chava, like coming from that whole, all three of them in different angles were sort of bringing out this point. If you get so full of the beauty of that music and you're content, then you're full. So it's not a tool that's helping you connect to God. It's a tool that's in essence separating you from God. So then it's not good. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And that's why it's very subjective. Because maybe to one person, that music is a tool that connects them to God. And when they're listening to the music, they actually feel connected to God. They actually feel like, sort of like Miriam was saying, like, wow, the awe of a God who created a world of such music. So that's a tool connects them to God. And another person is like, I'm full of the beauty. It's giving me amazing stuff. And what do I need God for? I got music. So that's why it's not a black and white answer. If it was something God says you're not allowed to do, it's a very black and white answer. God says, no. You listen, you don't listen. But the reality, it's a very clear paradigm. But everything we're talking about here is in the realm of the permissible. In the realm of the permissible, it's much more subtle and nuanced. This is the point, and I'm answering Leah, and if your issue is not music, don't not pay attention, because everyone has issues. Everyone has things in this world that drive them and give them pleasure. And this is the point, what she's asking. This is really the crux of this point. If this is a tool that connects you to God, it's a good tool. And if this is a tool that does not connect you to God or disconnects you from God, it's not a good tool. It could give you lots of pleasure and lots of beauty and lots of joy and lots of wisdom and disconnect you from God. So then it's not a good tool. Or it could give you lots of pleasure and lots of joy and lots of wisdom and lots of beauty and connect you to God. And then it is a good tool. So just briefly touching on Miriam's point, because she continued and she raised two issues. One issue is, well, what if it's someone's profession? Well, if it's someone's profession, it's like any profession. If it's your profession, you're using it as a vehicle to support yourself and your family. It's a permissible vehicle. It's great. You're using your talents and you could earn a living off them. You're blessed. So that's not an issue. That's nothing to do with what we're talking about. Just like if someone has a pleasure in math and they teach math and they get paid for it, great. This is how they're supporting their family by something they enjoy. Wonderful. That's amazing. You also the second point that Miriam was saying was going back to the same idea, but this is in God's world. And God created this. And this is a point of beauty in his world. And again, just as I said to Rachel, sort of a similar point, everything in this world is God's world. There's lots of horrible evil in this world that are created by God, because everything in this world is created by God. So if you would look at horrors in this world, they're not excused because they're created by God. God created some things in this world as a vehicle for our challenge for us to overcome them. But if it's something in this world that's permissible and beautiful, it's a much more nuanced question. Again, but the answer isn't because it's created by God. Everything is created by God. The answer isn't because it's beautiful. There are many beautiful things that we're not all allowed to do, and they're totally forbidden to us. But this is created by God, is beautiful, is permissible. So then I'm saying it becomes a more subtle question. Now, obviously here we're talking about like deep work. It's not like, okay, now I know what to do and now we're finished and we're good to go for the next 30 years or so. No, the ideas that we're raising, and obviously we didn't conclude the thought, which is fine. I appreciate the discussion. The ideas we're raising is to give us a point to think about. We're supposed to introspect on our own lives and look at what drives me. Where's my point of pleasure? Where's my passion? What drives me? And if I'm being driven by my relationship with God, and these things are complementing a life that's for God, they're good. They're helping me. They're enhancing it. But if the pleasure in this drives me, and that takes away my other deeper reason for being, my existential significance, why am I here? Am I here to get that pleasure in music? Am I here to get that pleasure in food? I am here to serve God. I am here to connect to God. I am here to elevate this world and give this world to God. I'm here to bring the redemption. That's why I'm here. So if I subtract, substitute, exchange why I'm here for something that is pleasurable and beautiful, I shortchange myself. Imagine someone who's, like many children and some adults, addicted to videos. I'm not going to say addicted to porn, or they watch, I don't know what, all day long. They can't hold a job, but it's okay. I don't know. There's welfare. They live by their parents. Their parents pay for their needs. They don't have relationships. That's okay. They have a very deep relationship with their device. They can't pull it together. They're totally content. They're totally happy. Imagine someone who's like on weed all day long or smokes every night and therefore is like sort of functioning by day, just spacier. You're content. You're chilled. You're relaxed. There can be many things in this world. I was trying to give examples that we all can understand of things that give pleasure, not harming anyone else. You can live the way you want to live. It's your life. But we all understand what a waste. What a waste for someone who could function and they're watching videos all day. Or I'm not saying heroin or marijuana, I'm saying they're smoking weed. What a waste. That they're just not really functioning because they're smoking up instead of functioning and living their life. They're doing something bad. They're harming someone else. They're not even doing anything illegal today. But what a waste. So that's like the point we're saying. And it's really a very introspective point for each person. And even if you get the point and identify things in your life, it doesn't mean so you're done. Menucha, if you could chime in, maybe I was thinking in responding to the whole music piece, and maybe I could be wrong. I don't know, maybe I'm putting Menucha on the spot.
Yeah, talk about tango. Tell us, why did you give up tango?
It was on my mind. Yes, it was a part. It was a huge part of my life. I was very obsessed, invested lots of money, energy, time. It was my passion, like for at least 14, 15 years. And before tango, I had other passion, yoga, belly dance, whatever, yes. But now I'm looking back and I feel sorry that I wasted so much time. It took so much energy from me, time and money. I'm glad I was able to quit. It was like very strong addiction for me because I was getting so much pleasure and adrenaline and all happy hormones, but it's a waste. It's a waste of life, waste of years. But now I can understand only looking back.
That's why I was thinking of Manuch, and I'm glad you said it. So you heard it from a living witness. This is the point I'm trying to say. Now, obviously, she's saying it was, I don't call it an addiction. She functioned, she had a job, she had a family. But like in the end, she looked back and she said, is this why I'm here? Is this what I want to say? I could look back and say, I danced and I had a lot of pleasure and I got a lot of maybe compliments and accolades and good, happy feelings. It's good. It's nothing bad. There's nothing, anything wrong. But is this why I'm here? Or is there something higher? And I could strive for more. So that's the point. And I'm saying it's nuance. And a person might be in a space of saying, but I need to dance. And when I dance, it gives me the energy to go back and lead my life. Fine. You need it, now do it. Again, I'm saying everything's permissible in kosher. Go for it. And maybe as you grow, you can reach a point of saying, I don't need it as much because I want to give more of my pleasure and my energy and my drive to why I'm in this world, to what I'm living for, and not for these other diversions that are okay, fine, good. The world thinks they're great, but I know I was created for something higher. But it's very personal. It's very nuanced. Each person, where they're holding, and at that moment where they're holding, and maybe a half a year before you were holding in a different place, and maybe a year from now you'll be holding in a different place. To really understand this point. But I do think Menucha's example, I'm glad I put you on the spot and you shared it. It was a beautiful expression of what we're discussing. So
It
to be
applies,
continued. Yes.
yeah, it applies to traveling and all other things. Like you don't crave, you don't, you stop looking for distraction to entertain yourself. And Shabbat gives you all the energy to rejuvenate for the next week. That's how it works for me. But the person has to be ready for that. So
it could substitute knowledge?
What?
It could substitute knowledge to learning, architecture, painting, music.
For me, yes, it does substitute knowledge.
Minucha, I don't think that's fair to say substitute knowledge. You're learning much more right now than when you were dancing.
But I was going to say it's absolutely different. It's different knowledge. You're learning about your purpose, why you're here. It's like all the other, it's like it looks like distraction. You know, you spend time, yes, architecture. So what in the end of life, what does it do to you? All this knowledge, you will not take it with you when the person dies. So what all is it about? The knowledge you have. So what?
My father was a scientist, but he did not learn secular from like when he left public school, which might have been like, I think around 6th grade, until he graduated high school. All those years he was in yeshiva. I think basically he didn't learn anything secular. He like bombed his SATs, you know, the test you have to take in America to get into college. He didn't know the information, but somehow he got accepted. He actually he was in Chicago. He's a Chicago boy. He went to IIT. Institute of Technology. And after the first semester, they gave him a full merit scholarship. He was the only one. You know, my grandmother, the immigrant Russian mother who like saved her pennies to be able to put her children through college. And she saved all her money. She didn't have to spend it on my father. And he like did amazing. And he was asked how. He didn't learn anything in high school. He didn't learn high school. He did not learn any of the subjects any normal person in America learns from, I think, about 6th grade. As the answer was, he learned Talmud. He learned Hasidus. His mind got so much deeper and sharper. There was no competition, you know. When you learn things that really develop your mind, I'm talking to you purely intellectual. I agree with what Menucha said, but I'm going on the intellectual plane. When you immerse your mind in Torah, there's depth, a depth of thought, a breadth of thought, and a depth of thought that truly, truly develops our mind. And truly gives us the ability that when we take that mind that was so developed and put it, like my father did, in science for his career to support his family, it was like, psh. And he was a very, very, very honored and awarded scientist for the government until he passed away tragically at a very young age because of his science work, he said, from learning Torah. That's what developed his mind so much. But there's many things. And again, for each person, it's where you're holding, what today seems like this or seems like that. It's a journey. We're all on journeys. We all have different trajectories. But that basic question, what am I here for? And is this helping me for what I'm here for?